Hi, welcome to episode 61 of A Couple of Things 365 Day Run. Today's episode is coming to you from rainy Ghent, Belgium, where I gave a talk at the World IA Day event happening here. And this episode is talking about how that came to be, reflecting on the power of simply asking. Something that people ask me a lot when I have coaching calls, career coaching, mentorship calls, is, oh, I'm looking for a job, but I don't know what to do. And I'm just like, have you asked anybody or have you told anybody that you're looking for a job? And oftentimes they're like, no. I was like, well, you can just ask. The clip you just heard is from the first season of this podcast, the last episode, where I talked about the power of simply asking. And this is something that I've incorporated in my work and in my life across multiple areas over the past couple of years. And this is how I got to speak at the World IA Day event in Ghent today, March 2nd, 2024. At the beginning of this year, I put a post on LinkedIn basically saying that it had been a while since I actively looked into giving talks and workshops for many reasons, including I had moved to the Netherlands. There were a lot of personal changes in my life, and I just didn't have the room and bandwidth for it. Some people had invited me to give sessions to closed groups, usually around UX, getting into UX, the basics about UX and all of those kinds of things, which I did, but I wasn't really putting myself out there. And so I had decided at the end of last year, when I started feeling settled in the Netherlands and I felt like things were more under control in my life and I didn't feel so out of place anymore, I decided that I was going to actively seek out speaking opportunities in 2024. And either at the end of 2023 or at the very beginning of 2024, I made a post on LinkedIn saying basically that I had been out of the game for a while, but I was interested in speaking in 2024 and I'm open to those kinds of opportunities. It got some engagement on LinkedIn, which was nice. And then a couple of days later, someone contacts me on LinkedIn. So I received a message on LinkedIn just some days after that, 2 weeks into January. And this person messages me to say he's organizing the World IA Day event in Ghent, and he shared a call for proposals on LinkedIn the day before, and someone else had mentioned that I might be interested. And so he shared about the theme and invited me to apply to submit a talk. And then I did. And when I checked the person who recommended me, I noticed that we weren't even connected on LinkedIn. I didn't know her. She didn't know me. So I sent her a message sometime after I submitted my talk and it was accepted. I sent her a message to say thanks. That if she hadn't suggested me to the person who organized the event, his name is Xander, I probably wouldn't have known about it and I wouldn't have been able to submit a talk, which is true because I had not seen anything about World IA Day anywhere on my timeline in any place, like on LinkedIn, in my emails that I'm subscribed to, nowhere. And it was very interesting to me and I thought about it. And she responded and she said that she somehow just saw my posts. She didn't know me. We didn't know each other. She just saw that post that I had posted asking for that saying that I was open to speaking and teaching and workshop opportunities in 2024. And so she just felt like recommending me when she saw the post by Xander announcing the World IA Day event. And it really made me remember this podcast episode clip that I shared that you heard at the beginning of this episode. And it was just a reminder about why it is so important to ask. Because sometimes we wonder, who will we ask? Who exactly will we ask? And sometimes you just ask the internet, right? You just put a post on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Instagram, wherever, on your WhatsApp stories, wherever other people can see it, to say, this is what I'm looking for and this is what I'm interested in. And you never know what that might lead to for you. To be honest, even with all I have said and thoughts and even experience with publicly asking, I was a bit hesitant to put out that post on LinkedIn because it felt, quote unquote, somehow. What does somehow mean? I don't know. But then I was like, what am I afraid of? What am I concerned about? And I realized that it was that what if nobody responds? Which is a fear that people have when it comes to asking, what if nobody responds? What if I'm rejected? And not just even in the professional context, in personal relationships, in all kinds of places. But the important thing is that we have to look beyond our fears and see what are the possibilities on the other side of asking. There are times where I have asked and not gotten what I asked for. I remember one time when I was considering going back to school again, some time ago, I posted about like being interested in volunteer research assistant opportunities. I did get a lot of responses. I did do some interviews, but the roles were all for full-time research assistant roles, which I wasn't interested in at the time. I wanted something more flexible, more volunteer oriented, and didn't require me to leave my job at the time. I didn't get exactly what I wanted, but that was an experience that helped me realize the value of publicly sharing what I want and publicly asking for what I want. And in asking for what I want, it's not just me saying, I want this. I give the reason why I want it and the things that qualify me for that thing. So in this case, it was, I have given talks in the past. You can find talks I've given here before. And now I'm ready to start doing that again. In the case of the research assistant experience, it was, I studied psychology. I did some research. I'm currently a UX researcher, but I want to do that research in an academic context. So here's my encouragement for you today. Ask for that thing that you want, but you don't know who to ask it from. Ask on the internet. Pick somewhere where you're comfortable, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's Twitter, whether it's Instagram, whether it's YouTube, whether you have a podcast, whether on whatever channel, your WhatsApp stories, your Telegram stories, if you use that, Facebook stories, Facebook groups, whatever. Ask for something that you want. And you may be surprised what happens. For me, asking for speaking opportunities led me to Ghent on a rainy March afternoon. Bye! On the topic of asking, ask me questions. Send me questions in the podcast. I will put the link to submit questions in the show notes. Which is interesting that I'm talking about asking this episode because nobody has submitted a question yet. But every episode, I still keep asking. So, double encouragement. Don't be afraid or shy to ask, even when you don't get a response. Eventually, you will. I hope. Bye for real. Thank you for joining me on today's episode of A Couple of Things. If you enjoyed this episode or found any part of it insightful, don't forget to share with your friends on your social media and be sure to leave a comment or a review if you can on your podcast listening app. Thank you.